Now, the launch simulations, entry simulations, and network simulations, items 11, 12, and 13, were all conducted during the last 3 weeks of the training cycle, and they all went fairly well. We, in looking back now with a more unprejudiced eye, I think that the simulations worked very well, and they proved themselves out in the flight. The flight went just the way the simulations went. One of the problems that we did have were some comm problems with CMS, between CMS and MCCH. We also had some timing problems with the CMS and the MCCH, but these were, I think, not the type of problems you'd expect in any operation, and although they resulted in loss of training in some instances, still the overall effect of the simulations was very beneficial. The DCPS was particularly effective for launch and abort trainings, and I think it represents an accurate simulation of the Saturn 1C or the Saturn V launch, with the exception that the noise level in the first 20 seconds of flight is not loud enough. Also, there was some more perhaps more transverse oscillations noticed in flight than are currently scheduled in the DCPS. I thought going back to integrated sims, I thought that the number of sims was just about adequate for this mission. Now, it's obvious when we have a rendezvous mission you're going to require more, but for this mission I thought we'd done about right. The CMPS was very valuable in the entry training. It was, I thought, the best part of the entry training came on the CMS, not only because of the experience, but in talking with the people like Will Hinton, who had helped develop the entry procedures. I meant CMPS when I said that, and that's what we're discussing now, item 3, CMPS. Now, one of the problems with entry training, the EMS, the cathode ray tube, is a kind of a marginal display, and we had a lot of difficulty in the initial stages getting the EMS up to snuff. However, the last 2 weeks of training, the EMS and the CMS worked well, with the handicap that I've already mentioned of having to use a cathode ray tube. The best actual training with an EMS was in the centrifuge, where we had a regular prototype unit and we were able to train with a regular scroll. The North American evaluator was only used for this mission for entry simulations, and by and large, from a training standpoint, it was probably not worth the time going out there to use it. The egress training went well. The Gulf exercise went on time, mock-up egress. One comment on the egress training at the Cape, it occurs early in the time we got to the Cape, and actually by the time we launched, the training that we'd had during the initial phase at the Cape was almost outdated, and I think that perhaps on future flights the egress training should be included closer to the actual launch date. There's really no need for the egress training unless you're going to enter the spacecraft in a suit. Part of the reason they had for having us do this training so early in our training was that we would earn our time at the Cape, was that we would be in the spacecraft and we needed to know how to get out of it. But I really think that we were a little bit